I don't know about you, but my drafts are a week away, and it doesn't matter if you're a veteran or a rookie. If you've done no prep this offseason for your draft, this is the perfect video for you. I'll be going through 5 tips and tricks on how to dominate your leagues and your drafts this season, so stick along for the ride and drop any other tips and tricks for other rookies down in the comments below. But without further ado, let's get into number 1. The number 1 tip that I have for any fantasy player on a yearly basis is to map it out. And this one is a must, and I do this every year, and I've been playing fantasy for 10 plus years. It takes maybe 10 to 15 minutes. Go to whatever platform you're drafting on, whether if it's Yahoo, Sleeper, ESPN. Just go round by round with their rankings and sort out the players who you like, who you love, or even hate at value. So if Pat Mahomes in your platform is going in the first round, ask yourself, would I draft Pat Mahomes in the first round? So you say no, put him in the hate column for the first round. Everybody has a price like the $1 Million Man, and Pat Mahomes is just not a first round pick in most leagues. But I'll put it this way, I don't even worry about the first 2 rounds of your draft because it's hard to go wrong. Even if you draft Pat Mahomes in the second round, you can bounce back from that later on in your drafts if he does fumble or he falls off a little bit. But for example, I start these in round 3. And in round 3, I like 2 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and a tight end. So there's 4 players in round 3 as of right now that I will not draft. And I am not the biggest fan of those players, and I won't be drafting them in round 3. So the numbers of those players that you like or love in each round are going to dwindle throughout the draft. And to me, that gives me the opportunity to lay out my draft, map it out as, okay, I like 5 tight ends in round 13. Let me wait till the later half of the draft to maybe grab my tight end 1 or even my tight end 2. It helps me map out where the value is and where the most optimal team is for me ahead of my draft. But for example, like I just mentioned, I really like Chig Okonkwo in the 13th round of drafts. So maybe I wait on that position and load up my roster at other positions in the first 12 rounds and get a guy I'm still very confident in and I love at that value in round 13. It just really opens your eyes to the board and it doesn't take much effort. So if you've done 0 prep this offseason and you have no interest in mock drafts or any other tips on this video, just map out the board as go through every round, go through each position. I like 2 quarterbacks in round 4, 0 in round 5. 5 in round 6, the 1 in round 7. Just do that and it gives you really a perspective on how the board will land in your drafts this season. Moving over to the second tip, and it's upside wins titles, upside wins championships. Because if you want a championship, you need the big breakout players, at least one of them every single year. And that's also why this tip can be titled the if you're not first, you're last. Shout out to Ricky Bobby. But if you're not first, you're last draft strategy. As players like Jalen Hurts from last year or Cooper Kupp from 2 years ago, these are guys that weren't going in the first or second round, but they have won thousands of fantasy football championships over the last 2 years because of their breakout seasons. I can guarantee you, if you go to the champion team in your leagues over the last 2 years, they have either Jalen Hurts or Cooper Kupp or even both on their teams. It's just how you win a championship, going for upside. And it can be scary, but again, if you're not first, you're last. No one ever remembers who the 6th place team was. But if you look at a couple examples from last year, Ramondre Stevenson, he was going right next to a 30-year-old Melvin Gordon in like the 6th round of your draft. Melvin Gordon was a veteran that wasn't going to show us anything we haven't already seen from him. We knew he was just going to be a steady back. But Ramondre Stevenson, on the other hand, he had that league-winning potential, and he showed on it. He finished as a top 5 running back, and he won a lot of championships this past season. Or, if we look at the quarterback position, Derek Carr and Justin Fields were going at the same spots. Derek Carr wasn't bad. Derek Carr was a top 15 quarterback, but there's a big difference between top 15 to top 6, which is what Justin Fields was in limited work last season. And Justin Fields, carried a team of mine to the championship last year. But Jalen Waddle and Allen Robinson is another duo. They were both going in the 5th round of last year. Allen Robinson had 2 total catches on the year. That's an exaggeration, but that's what it felt like. And Jalen Waddle was a league-winning top 10 wide receivers. You want the guy that has more potential to be that breakout guy to win you a title. If we look at this year's board, for example, these are some of the guys that are, you have a veteran, and then you have a guy that is a couple years into the league looking for that breakout year. You have Anthony Richardson or Kirk Cousins. Captain Kirk, he's going to be a consistent guy, might be quarterback 10 on the year. But Anthony Richardson, on the other hand, you can get him in the same round, and he might be a top 5 quarterback this year. I think as a Gators fan, he might need a year. But we thought that with Justin Fields, and Justin Fields was a top 6 fantasy quarterback. That is important here. Again, we're looking for fantasy stats, and Anthony Richardson can do just what Justin Fields did last year, and he could be maybe a top 5, top 6 quarterback in round 13 of your drafts. So draft him over a guy like Kirk Cousins. Another thing, Jahan Dotson or Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks is a 2nd or 3rd wide receiver at best in his Dallas offense. Or Jahan Dotson. Jahan Dotson's looking for a breakout. There's a new offensive coordinator. These Washington playmakers have been looking for a creative play caller. They finally have that now in Eric Bieniemy. Can he break out? It's worth a shot. 2 of those guys have league-winning potential. The other 2 guys are just safe, guys that are going to be good this year, but in all honesty, safe doesn't win championships. Again, no one remembers who the 4th place team was from 2 years ago, let alone last year. This is in short, if you wanted it in other terms, basically, a bunt isn't always going to get you a home run. It's very rare that would happen. A regular warm-up dunk, a regular 2-handed dunk in a dunk contest is not going to win you a slam dunk contest. So it's safe versus upside. You got to take that risk to win your championships. As sometimes it's just a few picks difference between a league winner and a 6th place finish. Moving over to the discount double check. Shout out to Aaron Rodgers. And this tip is the equivalent to buying great value cereal, where you're getting 90% of the real thing, but at a discounted price. The example is on the screen there, where you can get Pat Mahomes at either the 2nd pick in the 2nd round, or you can load up your roster, wait to the 4th round, the end of the 4th round, and get a guy like Justin Herbert. But we'll talk about that here in a sec. But this plays off of the first tip, where you map it out. As when you map it out, you'll be able to see who you like in each and every round. And in doing that, you'll see some of these great value brands in players later on in your drafts. And it doesn't even have to be in the later rounds of your draft. And I'll give you guys some examples here. As Travis Kelce, amazing player. We know the type of player he is. But when I map out my board, like I did with the first tip, Mark Andrews to me is 90% of what Travis Kelce is. And I can get him 2 rounds later, almost 3 rounds later. Patrick Mahomes, of course, the example there on the screen. He's going in the 2nd round, early 2nd, but almost 3 rounds later, you can get a guy in Justin Herbert, who in my opinion is 90% of what Patrick Mahomes is. And I think they're both top 5 finishes, and you can get them at 2 or 3 rounds later. Another example, Jalen Hurts, who in my opinion will be the quarterback 1 this year. He's going in the 2nd round. However, Justin Fields is going in the 6th and 7th round, and if you believe Justin Fields is 90% of Jalen Hurts, why don't you just wait the extra 5 rounds to get a quarterback you believe will have similar production? Finding these discounted versions allow you to fill your other positions and use that super valuable 1st or 2nd round pick on a great player at other positions, and then I can also get 90% of what I wanted to originally get 3 rounds later, so I can have the better, most optimal roster each and every week for every single league. Just in short, don't be afraid of the great value section. You can find some gems in there, as it's especially with the cereal brands, right? Number 4, keep on stacking. Stacking is personally my favorite strategy on a yearly basis because it gives you the most possible upside, especially on good offenses. Because good offenses, they score lots of points, and that increases the chances of your players on that team to score more points. And when that offense has a good week, the odds are that those players help contribute, and your team is going to win your fantasy weeks. So stacking, to me, I love. But to clarify, The only stacks I will contribute in, the only stacks I will partake in, is when I have a quarterback and a skill position player. I do not recommend getting a running back and a wide receiver, of course, unless you have the value. But I don't recommend having the same running back and wide receiver on an offense because your floor for each and every week would be insanely low. However, I do recommend a quarterback and either a quarterback running back, quarterback tight end, quarterback receiver. You guys get the picture. However, targeting offenses with good quarterbacks, in my opinion, teams like Kansas City, Cincinnati, Buffalo, Philly, other teams, of course, and then you pair that quarterback with the main option or the main receiver in that offense, gives you the most possible upside, and I think you can win at a very high rate each and every year. It can be very dangerous when you have a stacking like Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. But for example, even if it's not the Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown stack from last year, which if you had it this year, that would be league winning. Even if it's the Jalen Hurts and Dallas Goedert connection. Dallas Goedert is the third option in that offense at best. Still, having an elite quarterback in an offense that's going to score a lot of points with one of his main options is something I love to do, and it does give you that league-winning upside. Because let's say on a random Thursday night when your team needs a win, Dallas Goedert can go out there and get 2 or 3 touchdowns, and boom, you get double the points from Jalen Hurts and Dallas Goedert, and now your team looks like the game was never in question when just an hour ago you were stressing about going 0-4, right? But moving over to number 5, mock draft. A lot. Mock draft. As you know the age-old saying, practice makes perfect, and this is just another rendition of that. As, you know, just getting better, just getting the practice reps behind you is always helpful. You could hop into drafts with other users. I don't personally like to do that. I like to use Sleeper, which is an AI-generated mock draft, right? So you're not going up against real individuals. However, you're going up against a very standard draft, how your draft would go in real life. As when you get into a Yahoo draft or a ESPN draft, you're going to have some people taking defenses and kickers in the 4th, 5th round just to get the best valuable defense, and it's not realistic. So Sleeper, to me, I would recommend as the best drafting site for redraft leagues or even dynasty leagues. But just get your reps in, you know, even if you just have the curiosity right before your draft of, how would my team look if I went with Austin Eckler in the 1st round? Or how would my team look if I went with Christian McCaffrey with the 1st overall pick? You plug in your roster settings, plug in how many teams are in your league, and just draft from your spot. Just get practice reps in, because there's only one way to find out how a scenario can play out. The worst place you want to figure out and find that out is your actual draft day. Well, so get your reps in. Get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Maybe set the draft board up so, hey, all these players that I would like are gone. How am I going to draft from this point on? There's so many options on Sleeper, so go out there and just get your reps in, as practice supposedly makes perfect. But moving over to a bonus tip before we get out of here, know your league mates. Know your league mates when it comes to drafting, as if you're in a redraft league, this is something you should know if it is a recurring league, as no matter who it is, everybody has unique habits and certain strategies they follow on a yearly basis. For example, if the Grinch, we'll use him as an example. I don't know why he came to mind. But if the Grinch in your league is a huge Chiefs fan, I think you can expect him to reach on players for that team. Or if it's a hometown league, right? You can expect players from your hometown team to go way earlier than ADP or way earlier than expected. Or if Cindy Lou Who loves to draft Bijan Robinson, if she loves the rookies, you can expect her to maybe go out there and draft Bijan in the 1st round, or maybe even 1st overall. With, some people love to get those young players. They love to get their hands on their guys. She might go out there and reach for a guy like Bijan in the 1st round. Just to know how your league mates draft and their habits is something that seems so small, but it is so huge. And as far as you can capitalize it and build the most optimal roster and really capitalize on their, mistakes to build your team and take it over the top. But if you want, this is something you don't need to do if you have a general idea. But if you even want to take it to the next level, go through your past draft histories. You can, on most sites, do that. I know on Yahoo you can. You can go throughout your league history, Look at who was drafted in what spot. Okay, we see John took Pat Mahomes first overall for 2 years straight. We can imagine where he's going for the third year straight, right? So you can look at through the drafts for the last couple years and see, what everybody's strategy is going to be. So that's just the last thing. Bonus tip here, just know your league mates and how they draft. It really, really goes a long way. But that's going to do it for today's show. Just to recap here, map it out, right? Map it out, go round by round. That's the most important tip I can give you I like 2 quarterbacks in this round and 0 the next couple. So maybe I should take a quarterback this round. Mapping it out is the most important strategy that I can give you on a yearly basis. So that is the first tip. Second tip is upside wins championships. It's better to, nobody remembers the 6th place finish, so just go with the upside. Number 3, discount double check. When you map it out, you'll be able to see these great value prices. Maybe you can capitalize on these great value brands. Moving over to number 4, keep on stacking. Again, I love stacking, but do it smartly. Grab a quarterback and a main option in the offense, not 2 skill position players. And the last one, mock draft a lot, as practice does, make perfect. But that's going to do it for today's video. We will see you guys tomorrow for the AFC and NFC West playoff, or record predictions is the way to put it. But until then, stay happy, stay healthy. We'll see you guys tomorrow for that podcast. Subscribe for more. We'll see you then. Stay happy, stay healthy. We're out.